America is a landscape familiar to any seasoned American moviegoer. There is irresistible allure in destruction of any kind, and the destruction of the entire country, and possibly the rest of the world, has always held its appeal. Studying apocalyptic cinema reveals key lessons about the American dream. After all, nothing is more American than being placed in some dire situation and fighting one's way out. The first apocalyptic film in America didn't take itself seriously at all. The Last Man on Earth debuted as a black and white silent film in 1924. It starred Earl Fox as Elmer, the sole survivor of masculitis, which killed off every male older than 14 in the world. Thus, the first movie to bill itself as an end-of-the-world story really only dealt with the end of a male-dominated world. Elmer is brought before the Presidentess of the United States, where all kinds of women clamor for his attention. The film ends shortly after two senatoresses in bathing suits fight for Elmer's attention. He escapes home to marry his more reserved fiancée, and soon afterwards has twins, which means the end of the world is altogether not too bad for Elmer. So we see that a female-dominated world goes to the dogs, almost quite literally when the Presidentess lets dogs overrun the White House, while the apocalypse is shown as not too harmful as long as there's another generation coming in line. In 1964, the threat of an apocalypse was very real. Nuclear annihilation was the word on the street as Americans faced off against the Soviets in the Cold War. Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, is Stanley Kubrick's black comedy about all the impossibly human mistakes that could lead to mutually assured destruction. An American general goes mad and dispatches B-52s to bomb a Russian airbase, which will set off, inevitably, the Soviet doomsday machine. The American president negotiates with the severely intoxicated Soviet premier to stop the end of the world. However, Dr. Strangelove, an ex-Nazi scientist now advising the U.S. president on such matters, presents a far more enticing solution. All the American government officials just let the doomsday machine run its course while they hide underground in ratios of 10 women to 1 man, all the better to repopulate the earth with after the apocalypse.
With the proper breeding techniques and a ratio of, say, 10 females to each male, I would guess that they could then work their way back to the present gross national product within, say, 20 years.
Once again, women are objectified while ensuring the next generation's survival is key.
It is cold and growing colder as the world slowly dies.
In 2007, little has changed, although the tone of apocalyptic films are not quite so tongue-in-cheek. The Road features a man and his son wandering a desolate landscape. They encounter fire, earthquakes, and most horrifyingly, cannibals. The man's one saving grace is his fierce love for his son. The Road touches on themes of moral ambiguity when one's survival is threatened, and of hope in the face of despair. Still, it contains the age-old paternalism seen in the previous century. The boy's mother chooses suicide over survival, a decision clearly portrayed as the weaker, easier way out. Meanwhile, the boy and his father must live on. The boy represents hope for the future even if he doesn't want to be. He continually questions his father throughout the movie about why they must remain living when it seems so much easier to just die. By the end of the movie, with his father's death, he realizes that he must be the one to carry the fire.
Keep carrying the fire.
What fire?
Fire inside you.
So in 2007, as always, we see that no matter how bad the present is, as long as there is another generation, there's always hope. After the 2008 recession, the U.S. dramatically changed. Americans no longer trust in big business or government to perpetuate their interests. The internet is a part of everyone's life. Sharing and oversharing have become completely normal. Follow is my take on the American dream today. It tells the story of a couple, Otto and Ida, in post-apocalyptic America. They discuss the causes of the collapse, a Chinese invasion, economic problems, and a national sense of apathy. And they consider their options for the future, which largely involve wandering around until someone or something comes to help them out. By the end of the script, Otto abandons Ida on an island. The two dominant themes of having a next generation and prevailing masculinity are reversed to nightmarish proportions somewhat here. Otto is bewildered by Ida's androgyny when she decides that she shouldn't be the one cooking or that she shouldn't be the one working for him, and he eventually leaves her for it, while the couple both agree that had they had children before the collapse, they might not hate each other so much. So where Ida and Otto fail, we see that if the two main aspects of the American dream, as seen through apocalyptic Hollywood, aren't fulfilled, you don't survive the doomsday, theoretically. Additionally, we see that the modern era is especially likely to produce people that don't carry on the American dream. As we move into the next decade, defining the American dream is as important as ever. Will the American dream, as seen through a doomsday lens, honor masculinity and the passing down of hope to the next generation above all else? Or will it deteriorate as the gap between the genders close and as more and more people opt out of having kids? Hollywood history has shown that time and again, the circumstances may change, but the mentality stays the same. But Hollywood never had to deal with a prolonged recession, increased doubts about national standing, and most of all, the arrival of the all-encompassing, life-changing internet. The American dream may not be as recognizable in the future, but if past apocalyptic films are any indicator, this might be a good thing.